I like the countdown because I see you scramble to the mute button. That's why I got to start talking. We start looking at the phone and answering emails.
Yeah, I
But
was on to other things. Yeah.
how you doing, man?
Good. Live and kicking.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate it. Now, last time we did this, I feel like we were at the start of the football season, and it was going to be a different year. I just didn't know that your Packers were going to be gifted the NFC Central with this particular season. What's going on, man? Are they just going to run away with this thing out there?
Well, first off, it's the North Division, not the Central anymore.
That's true.
Nope.
I'm old.
You had Tampa Bay with us for a second there. Yeah, it is the North, and I think the best team is winning. I don't think there's any doubt on that. So
Yeah.
we'll see what the rest does. My defense still scares me, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, and look, I'm a Browns fan, and so their record is a complete farce. But I do find it very Brownsy that we're 8-3, you're 8-3, and you guys I think are up by 3 games, and we're back 3 games. Like that, it's a 6-game swing with the same record.
It's Cleveland.
Exactly, it's a very Brownsy thing to do, but. All right, so thanks, man, for doing this. I appreciate it. Obviously, you and I have done this a few times, and I get asked a little bit of like, why, what's your goal with these type things? Are you selling Loan Depot? What's the game plan? And this is why I love working with you, man. I mean, at the end of it, the whole goal for this live stream is to help originators and leaders at other organizations be successful at their organizations. And you being willing to give us, sometimes it's 20 minutes, sometimes these things are 40 minutes. Of your time to share your knowledge in the builder space to help these folks become more successful at lending in the builder space. Really appreciate you doing this, my man. So thank you. And apparently you're not the only Packer fan out there. Again, Scott, I don't know why I didn't get a go Browns go, go dog pound, but all right, go Pack go. We'll go with it. So, but thank you, Mike, for doing this. So. As we do now, this is our tradition, given this is our 4th time, let's talk about just the market that we're in right now within the builder space before we start getting into tactics and strategies. It's a hot market, obviously, in the builder space. Like, it's insane. Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, it took a hiatus for like March, April, and then it's been off to the races since then. But it really, in retrospect, it's probably not surprising because January and February, they were all beating plans for the most part, builders already. So I think the demographics for finally, I think we've been talking millennials for like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Like they're going to buy now. They're going to buy now. They're buying now.
Yeah.
So the demographics have kind of built up that demand for years. I think COVID kind of lit it because your 900 square foot apartment doesn't look so good anymore. So I think it kind of like moved everything up and ramped it up. So, traditionally builders seem to have about a 30% standing inventory they're selling. Now anything that was that far along is sold. So they're selling into dirt now. So yeah, it's a very hot market and rates are low, demand is high, and resale is even low for supply. So there's a lot of good.
Yeah, and you mentioned the millennial. The Stratmore Group put out a study. 50% of all purchases were done by millennials. Actually, 52. 52.
It makes sense. I mean, it's going to keep ramping up too, because there's 4 years left of them. When you kind of do the math and look at the group, there's a huge bucket of them still for another 3 to 4 years.
Well, and the thing with that group that really matters long term also is these are our best opportunities for repeat business. Right. These are our so we've got to capture them now, serve them well now, nurture them long term, because they're going to be buying second homes and third homes and such. And the other thing is it's not always 900 square foot apartments. It's also parents' bedrooms, so.
Yeah.
All right. But when we prepped for this, you had just said what you just did. And me being the dummy, I didn't quite understand the relationship between selling kind of the standing inventory that you just kind of indicated that they've sold out of, right? I think you had said 30% is usually.
Every builder's a little different, but it seems like they were kind of 20 to 40%, like heading towards ready to close almost. So there's something available for a buyer if they wanted it.
Yeah.
That's kind of been a theme for a couple years. And now that percentage is shrinking just because they're bought up.
Because people are coming on and saying, look, I can't find anything that's in the resale market, so let me buy this new home. And that's when you say selling dirt. And what you mean by that is selling a home that's not built yet. Like it's in the master community. They're planning to do it, but they haven't even broke ground yet in some cases. And so now within that, how does that impact the borrower? How does that impact the originator? You know, like, what do they need to be thinking about with this dynamic changing in terms of what kind of inventory is being sold?
You know, the lack of buildable lots and the earlier sale. In fact, you could argue some builders are selling ahead. So it pushes, bottom line is it pushes the timeline out. So if you're traditionally finishing a house in 5 to 6 months, which is kind of the norm across the country, you know, you could be pushing out to 9 to 12 months in a lot of markets, just because A, you sold a lot of lots, B, subcontractors are stretched, prices of lumber, stuff has gone up. So it's stretching out that line to finish before you get in your house.
Yeah.
So it's not uncommon to have 9 to 12 months now, which in the past, that would have been very localized and very unusual.
And so as an originator, look, part of the buying process is we got a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm sorry. Midstream, I got to throw it out there. Wags, I don't want to hear it. I don't need to. As a Browns fan, you're the reason I'm 3 games back. Thanks. But so traditionally, like, look, part of that buying process that you just described is obviously the mortgage, right? This is where the originator is. And so now, you're seeing 5-6 months historically, now possibly stretching 9-10 months.
Yeah.
You know, and so that means that the originator and the builder, to keep these people on the hook, I hate to say it that way, they're gonna have to nurture these people, right? They're gonna have to stay in touch. Okay. No, I get it. And COVID and lumber and COVID are also, you're seeing play an impact?
Yeah, just supplies of appliances, cabinetry, because there's higher volume, and the kind of a mechanism to get it here, has more hurdles.
Yeah, I got it.
It's just more challenges. But again, builders are good at juggling challenges. That's what they do.
So what do you see next year then? Do you see this kind of trend continuing? Do you think they're going to get an opportunity to build ahead again and have standing inventory, or what do you see?
I'd be hard pressed to not believe 2021 is going to be good. In fact, the front half of the year is kind of baked already because they've been selling lots, right? So they've already got those sales kind of in backlog. Yeah. So 2021, I think most builders are pretty confident. I think the builder confidence index is the highest ever. So yeah, I think 2021, as long as rates still low and jobs don't go off the cliff somewhere, I think you're pretty safe. After that, who knows what the new hurdle will be. But
I've yet to see anybody accurately forecast our world beyond 6 months anyways. So it's like, don't even bother. Okay. All right. So the thing I like about this series that we've been doing is you've really chunked out, lending in the builder space and tactically, kind of broke down certain subjects, really granular, so people can get some true value out of it. And when we talked about this, you felt it was a good time, especially because it's changing, to talk about the manufacturing process, so to speak, about doing builder loans, because it is different than resale, right? You just gave a life cycle of 9 months, where if you talk to a resale realtor deal, you're pissed if it goes past 30, right? And so, like those other areas, the thing I like about what you do, Mike, is you take very complicated subjects that can have a lot of moving parts and you make them simple. Can you talk about how you break down the loan manufacturing process? And then what we'll do is we'll break into each bucket.
Yeah.
And talk about what an originator needs to think about, and also what strategies and tactics they should be applying to make sure they're succeeding during that stage in the process.
So I have some builder leaders across the country, and Todd White's one of them. He's in Southern Cal. But his favorite statement is it's the heartbeat of a loan, a builder loan. And so they have 3 parts to that. So the first part is a firm approval up front. And most old school builders, they want not a pre-qual. I'm talking about underwriting assets, income, the whole 9 yards before they sign that contract. They want a full-blown approval. So the first stage is full approval, not a half-baked one, a full one. The second stage is that kind of what I call the nurturing and time to find something interesting to talk about stage.
the we're going to be friends for 7 months.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you like text? Do you like email? What do you like? But so it's the nurturing. I'll call it the nurturing stage of the heartbeat. And then the last 60 days, we call it the wake up the file stage. And you could argue it's 75 days, but that's to ensure that you close on time. Mm-hmm. So when are you ordering the appraisal? All those stages that go into making sure you close on time. Okay. That's kind of the race to the finish stage. And that's where a lot of the, customer experience stuff gets remembered, right? They kind of forget the beginning sometimes. Yeah. If that end goes well, they're happy. So
let's start at the first stage then, the first bucket, the upfront bucket. Does this market change the type of approval that builders are looking for? Can it be a softer, commitment, meaning a less chance that it pulls through? Does the type of product that a builder sell, like, is this something that an originator needs to care about? You know what I mean? When working with the builder, talk about that approval, and are there any variances of how hard and rock solid that approval needs to be in today's
market? I think it's a critical question up front is how do you want to operate? Because again, if you remember our first talk was how to partner with the builder. Yeah. Because I don't want to be a vendor. I want to be a partner. Yeah. To me, this is kind of critical. Like, how do you operate? What's important to you? And in answer to your question, I would say it's getting a little more flexible. I think they're a little less traditional, especially as you get to first-time home buyers, where there's enough demand that they're kind of moving faster and not necessarily fully baking it, because they're not as afraid of cancellations. Like, again, traditional builders measure their cancellation rate and they hate it. They want a low cancellation rate. I know some builders out there and they're a little more leaning into first-time home buyer. They don't mind cancellations because they got the next buyer queued up.
Fine.
So, and it's also important to note their model is they don't do a lot of upgrades. They kind of have, here's my house. So you're not personalizing it. So.
Yeah. That makes sense. So in other words, because a first-time home buyer, let's face it, the reason why it's a first home is, well, they don't have a ton of cash, to buy this crazy extravagant thing. So the home is more universal, right? Meaning, all right, look, if you don't want to buy it, somebody will. Where on the upper end, you're really kind of personalizing the home, right? I really, really like this type of countertops, or I really like this funky door. And so they need a stronger pull through because, well, if this person doesn't buy it, I don't know if anyone else is going to want your ugly green, countertops.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And there'll usually be other timelines around it, Shane, like up front. There'll be other, I get my firm approval in 7 days, and then I need all conditions met in 21 days. They'll have these, you got to ask those questions of what's your expectation. Yeah. Now, the beauty is with all the digital action going on out there, again, another change in direction. I mean, for a W-2 person with assets, you can get a firm approval online in 20, 25 minutes. Yeah. That's good to go. Yeah. And we could leverage that a lot better than we do, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I think about if I'm an originator talking to the builder, and maybe I'm new at this, right? I mean, that's kind of, in some cases, some of the topics are going to be, hey, we're going to help everybody. And some it's going to be younger originators. If I'm a younger originator and I'm going into this community, we're going to talk about expectations. These are the things that I'm going to ask leading questions. All right. So talk to me about each type of unit or each type of home. Is it more of a first-time home buyer target audience? Is it a larger target audience? Does that impact your pull-through? Talk about, you can begin to ask questions in a way that is going to gain confidence with the builder, right? And as you had said, gain what they're looking for to increase that partnership. So that's huge.
Yeah.
So what about the borrowers? Because as you had said, you're strapping in to a 9-month ride with these folks, right? What are the things that you need to talk to the borrower about or extract from the borrower besides just an approval to set yourself up success for future stages downstream?
Yeah, there's a lot to that, Shane. The first thing is you want to make sure you get them a product that's right for them. So you're kind of understanding their situation. You're going to live here. Is this your forever home? Is this your 3-year home? There's all sorts of that action up front, but then there's also in today's world with FICOs affecting rates, you could be, we traditionally look at it as give them the approval you can give them today, but sometimes there's coaching that says, but by the way, over the next 6 months, if you do this, this, and this, it can have a positive effect on your rate or on, better things can happen. But I'm approving it this way because this is the way it looks today. Yeah. And that's how I'm approving it.
But don't go buy a minivan. Don't go buy.
Yeah, and then there's the whole don't blow it up. Yeah. That you can say that every month actually through this process. Just say, don't take out any new credit cards. Don't close any credit cards. Don't buy a car. Yeah.
Now, you had also, and we'll talk a little bit more of the use of this. But when you were educating me, you had mentioned how vital it is, especially in the beginning, because this is the opportunity that you've got the buyer's attention, right? They're most excited. They just saw the model. They want to buy the home. They're going through the approval process. So you've got a captive audience. I mean, let's face it, even though they're still going to be excited about the home in 4 months, it's just ho-hum. They're waiting for the damn thing to get built. So you had referenced how important this stage is for the originator to collect the personal information, kids, hobbies, activities, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about the types of things that originators should be collecting during this stage?
Yeah, anything that builds relationship or stickiness, whatever you want to call it, but sincerely builds relationship is positive, right? I mean, if you're going to be with someone for 9 months, it's kind of nice to know a little something about them. And again, one of the challenges is today's system, because rarely is it face-to-face anymore. I mean, it's almost always online, is how to do that now. So you almost have to make more of an effort to do the relationship questions than you did in the past. Like 20 years ago, you're doing apps face-to-face. You just naturally do it, right? To break the ice.
I'm looking at you. I got to talk about something. So,
yeah. So, but I think it's important. And it's actually, I think it's important a lot because it was a weakness of mine early in the game. Yeah. I was all business, like always trying to help the business side of it without necessarily, hey, what about you? Like,
it's funny. It's funny. I went through the same thing because when you're in person, I mean, it's not like you go, hey, Mike, good to see you. Okay, great. Thanks. Bye. And you walk out. You're talking. Hey, how you been? What do you got going on? When you pick up the phone to call somebody with a purpose, that purpose is the reason why you called. It's almost like a task. It's just a checkbox to clear off and say I did it again. And I almost had to do I put a 5-minute rule in place where I would take a breath. I had 5 minutes just to talk, just to add on, just to show the person on the other end that you care. People that you work with, people that work for you, people you're working for, just how you doing? How's your family and everything else? Because if not, it gets very cold very quick.
Well, and the other danger you get with that, and again, this is from personal experience, is if after you do 1,000 of this, pre-quals, pre-approvals, you think like you automatically fill in the gaps and off you go, and it's like, well, hold it, I didn't really ask that question. Like that's another danger, and again, that's from personal experience.
Yeah. So let's use that topic because there's other parts in this to pivot over to the nurturing stage. So now we've gotten the approval. We've gotten to a little bit know about this person and their personal life. We know what kind of approval our builders. We're coaching them on not doing stupid stuff during this kind of cycle. How are you using that personal information in the nurturing process? What are you doing to stay connected to, I guess this is the more overarching question. What are you doing to stay connected and maintain a relationship with this borrower to assure that you guys work with each other for the entire cycle of this loan?
So keep in mind, in builder world, you have two clients. You have the builder and the customer, right?
Yeah.
So I'll take it in two parts. So the first client, the builder, you want to become part of their communication flow. So this is, again, that partnering stuff, right? So during these 5 down months, how do you normally communicate? Do you communicate twice a week? Do you send them videos? What do you guys do? And then you kind of augment that from a lending side, right?
So I got to stop you. Keep your train of thought, okay? It's almost like you and the man, Dan Hansen, have worked together before. Because Dan just threw this up there. He goes, I think another important action by originator is to collaborate borrower communications with the builder sales organization to support the same message. Yeah. He literally just threw this up there.
Yeah, Dan and I were both in the Union Army.
You had the old, the tents on your back, trudging through mud. Yeah. It is such an important concept because it is echoing the same message, but also, I hate to say it, tactically stretching out the communication. Because if both you and the builder call on the same day, well, it's weird if you both call them back 3 days later. You know what I mean? And okay, do you want to do an off-on thing? I call this week, you call next. Do you want to really coordinating with the builder is going to help keep that warm relationship with the buyer, the lender, the borrower, by making sure you're spacing out the communication. So no, I like that.
Yeah, and that's the builder. And then on the customer side, that's where that understanding them a little bit, how they like to be communicated, when. Yeah. I mean, all those things are really important up front. Because sometimes a simple text just saying, framing went up today, all good. They'll chuckle and go, yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah. Or a little selfie with you out there, at the site if you happen to be visiting the community. That would be a cool little gesture, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah, what kind of because look, 9 months is a long time, man. Like eventually I run out of material, to say. Well, what kinds of communications do you do? I like the selfie, right? I like the maybe a bi-weekly video of the building site, because we're talking about now more of the dirt builds. What other types of communication have you employed or used, to nurture?
I try to stay away from like too much product stuff. Because they're already in a product. But if there was anything that was interesting, given something they told you, that can come into play. I think video today is really powerful. I don't think there's a new homeowner out there that wouldn't want a weekly snapshot or video of their lot.
Yeah.
Or bi-weekly, whatever. I think that's a no-brainer. And actually, a lot of builders use, I think it's called Our Story. There's a service out there that puts it together for them. I think that you could partner with the builder on that. That's kind of cool. But then the other stuff is just the relationship stuff. Guy got a birthday. Did the kid, how is school going? I know you got kids at home. That kind of stuff isn't necessarily a bad thing either. And again, the challenge today is it's just so everyone's in their home, right? Yeah. We're really not out. Like I'm getting like stir crazy because I haven't been on airplane since March. Which is crazy for me. So
I've got two adds to that. One is, and actually, you and Dan know this person very well, Alec Hansen. With social media, Alec gave me a very simple concept that's actually helped me a lot. I can show it to you. He called it a content calendar. And basically try to plot out what you're going to post. So if you can see, it's a little calendar then. If you have to sit down and if you think, hey, I'm going to have to stay in touch with this person for 6 months, how am I going to nurture with them? And if you pulled out a calendar and just, and you say in your mind, I want to make sure they hear from me every 2 weeks, and write down the type of topic that you could share. So this week it's a selfie. This week it's a happy 4th of July. This week it's happy birthday to your kids. I think if you managed it that way, it would be a really easy way to make sure that you have the constant communication going to them and varying the message. Because if you do it on the fly, I don't remember what the hell I did 3 weeks ago. I don't remember what I did 4 weeks ago, and almost planning it out purposely. Now it's almost an insincere thing, but it's making sure you're nurturing. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up, and Mike, you'll have to tell me if like there's a RESPA violation here or something like that. So I'll actually ask with this. Let's say the person accepts the home or buys the home. Is there any issue with giving a gift to the borrower at that point? Like, hey, congratulations, you're approved and in the house?
Yeah, I mean, there's usually the value game of how much the gift is worth for a RESPA side. But stuff like dog tags, if they have a dog with the new address, All right.
So you'll have to tell me if this is outside of the realm. Right. But so my wife last night, she goes, all right, I got the gifts for your grandparents. And I was like, what is it? And I was trying to Google. If you saw me being rude, I was looking at my phone, and I'm just not quick enough. So have you seen those digital frames that you can have in a house? It's like a frame, like a picture frame, but it has pictures on it. So there is a picture frame that is hooked up to Wi-Fi that you can email a picture to that will show up on the frame. And so I'm thinking, if I was able to give this to a borrower, or somebody who's going into the home, hey, congratulations on the home. By the way, this is a cool little thing. I could email them pictures directly to their frame, just sitting inside of their house, Now, of course, their family, the purpose is for grandparents, to like receive pictures of their kids and things like that. But maybe not a bad way of staying in touch just randomly. Like, hey, there's a new picture of the house here. How cool is that?
I think it's a great idea. I mean, it fits in with that, kind of watching your house built theme. So I like it. There's a value question to it.
Yeah, we'll see. It was like Starlight, Streamlight. I got to figure out the thing. So, Dan, Packers hats are pretty cheap as a consumer gift. Again, enough of the Packer talk. They're 8-3. Browns are 8-3. The Packers are winning. So, all right. So, on top of that, though, we're talking about how you guys are strategically communicating with the borrowers at the right time, actions that you can take. But if they're selling this much product ahead of time, there are a lot of buyers that the builder needs to be aware of. How are you communicating with the builder during this nurture process, this 6-month cycle? Are you keeping them up to date of what you're seeing for each buyer?
Again, this is way earlier in the game. I mean, every builder has a status process, usually weekly. With updates, they might have a color coding process, red, yellow, green. Okay. Green are 90% of them. They're good to go. Customer solid. Red are the ones we talk about. But every builder has a status expectation. They might use Google. They might use, their system might be a little different, how they communicate. But we all have a relationship where it's understood that on Monday we're going to be there for the status meeting with their sales team.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Which is a great opportunity for you to remind the builder of the service that you provide. Let's face it. Also, if you're good, the builders don't want to have 5,000 status meetings. So, if you do this and you do this well, they're going to want to feed as many of the buyers to you as possible because, well, it's just one last meeting that they have because they just got to deal with you for their entire pipeline.
I mean, that's the whole point of builder business usually is control. Like they want one guy to strangle.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm good, right?
Hey, thankfully you're at home, so they can't strangle you. All right, so last stage of the process, waking up the file. What does that mean?
And this is one of the key differentiators between a builder team and non. Most reporting and operations in a mortgage company, it kind of works from the closing date back. So they start picking up files like 3 weeks before closing, 2 weeks. They don't think of it like I have to update everything. When is the appraisal should be ordered based on when they lock down upgrades. So there's a lot of nuances to builder where you better wake that thing up 60 days. And quite honestly, in this market we're in right now, that's a huge challenge because processing underwriting is working on this month's closing. They're not looking at January, February, which traditionally in builder, that's what we're doing. Yeah. We're looking 2 months ahead. So that is a critical differentiator that you have to have a process for sure, because stuff comes up. All of a sudden their FICO went down a little bit, or now I got to manipulate a product or do something. So that is like the number one topic that differentiates builder from resale.
With the upgrades, because Kim and I, we had, at one point we had bought a house and went through this process in Irvine actually, and we were doing upgrades throughout the entire thing, and my lender didn't really know what was going on, especially in some of these more extravagant homes. I'd imagine that's an issue. I mean, is getting the appraisal in the early, I think you guys call it an addendum. Is that
can be a really touchy. That's another partner discussion. Like there's some builders that are kind of loose. They let stuff go longer than they should. You should lock it down 30 days or earlier. You shouldn't let people be adjusting stuff.
Okay. Late
in the game. So that's another partner discussion is when are you locked down on all your upgrades, your pricing, your addendums? Number two, when we order that appraisal, the appraiser's got to have all those addendums. If you upload it wrong, there's another issue.
That's why I asked, because appraisals right now are in some markets, they're stretching out in time.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, appraisers, that's another discussion where in normal builder world, I'll try to wait till it's done. Like I'll try to time it so I don't have to spend money on a final. But in today's world with the capacity, I'm just order, let's roll. Yeah. Because you don't want to push it where you need 2 days blows you up.
You're under the gun, yeah. Yeah. And one of our earlier calls also, you had referenced the importance of the title company in the process, because the builder really likes to work with a single title entity and relies on them, for feedback of how the service is going, how happy the borrowers were, and things like that. Is a part of waking up the file so early so you can feed the closing documents to the title company early, or does that
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, again, they're part of the team, right? Escrow, title, attorney, they are clearly part of a builder's team. And if they're not happy with you, Mr. Lender, you probably won't be the lender long.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're a critical part of the team. And again, in today's day and age, it's a challenge. But I mean, they'd normally like the doc 7 days ahead. That'd be great. Yeah. But a lot of times, at the end, you're pushing. But again, in builder space, they close a lot that last week of the month, right? So the same escrow companies doing all these docs and closings at the same time. If you can help them by giving them docs early, they're happy.
Yeah. Well, and you, at the beginning of this, you had said something that's pretty important, right? We went through the upfront, taking the app, getting full approval, collecting information, then move on to nurturing, which is now, it's an 8-month process. And you had said, yet you get to the very end, and that's what everyone remembers, is that ending experience. And so you could do everything perfect in the first 8 months because of the process, but if you fail that title company over and over, a few times, everything else that you did is going to be forgotten. And it's going to have a negative impact on your future business.
And let alone the lender side, when the builder's doing their customer experience surveys, which almost all of them do, that lender can impact the score for the whole thing for the builder.
Yeah.
And nothing upsets the builder more than missing their targets because the lender.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Sergis, we did another one. Somehow we made it. Did we miss anything? Anything else that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I just think, in today's day and age, with all the volume we got, process is probably the #1 topic out there for builder in reality, because there aren't that many wild products, right? That's normally a talk when sales are tough. You're looking for every niche. That's not today's world. So I would argue this talk today is probably the timing's right, just because the market's dictating it.
Maybe the most important topic they've heard all year. We are game changers. All right, Mike, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully next time we do this, both our teams are in the playoffs. Yours definitely will be. So you have a great day, man. And thank you, dude.
See ya.
Take care. Bye.
All right.